Let's begin with our part language policy. It's the sixth part of federalism and understand what was the language policy which was adopted by our country. Now, in order to understand the language policy, let me tell you a true story that is a small extract from the pages of history. Alright, so let us begin about the language policy and how did it shape up into a language policy for India. After independence in 1947, government wanted to opt for a national language. Mahatma Gandhi pointed out five requirements for any language to be accepted as a national language. It should be easy to learn for government officials. It should be capable of serving as a medium of religious, economic, and political interest throughout India. It should be the speech of the majority of the inhabitants of India. It should be easy to learn for the whole of the country, not only to the government officials but also to the remaining citizens of the country. In choosing this language, consideration of temporary or passing interest should not count. Now, there were debates on the choice of a national language because it had already been mentioned that how a national language had to be selected by Mahatma Gandhi. Debate was mainly between Hindi, Urdu, and Hindustani. Mahatma Gandhi supported Hindustani, that is a mixture of both Hindi and Urdu. However, after the partition, they focused on making Hindi as a national language. Hindi was better placed than Urdu because of its spread throughout North India and its connectivity to other non-Hindi regional languages like Bengali, Uriya, Marathi, Gujarati, at least in terms of their Devanagari origins. Now, few of the states were not happy with the fact that Hindi will be termed as a national language. But why? Because India is linguistically divided, government had failed to make Hindi a national language, as each state has its own language. For example, the use of Tamil in South India and Hindi in North India. Government cannot make Hindi a national language because it is not the mother tongue of all Indians and non-Hindi state would militate against it. That is it, they will not be happy with this fact and hence imposition of Hindi as a national language will not work. Now comes the question why English was not considered as a national language. Although English is a neutral language, it is not accepted as a national language, as it was clearly quoted that the former colonial language is an absolutely atrocious choice as a national language. Nothing could be worse symbol of a new nation's self-awareness than the language of a country from which it has just achieved independence. So, as a result of all these problems, India does not have a national language. In fact, a national language would divide rather than unify the Indian nation because it would be difficult to get the population to accept any particular language. That's the reason it was decided that India will not have any national language but only an official language. Hindi was chosen as the official language by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Though Hindi was unrelated to South Indian languages, it was also thought that it would not be entirely foreign to South Indians because of the strong Sanskrit influence it shares with the four main Dravidian languages. English was considered as an associate official language. As Hindi cannot be the sole official language because most of the non Hindi speakers, that is, non Hindi states, may not like it and definitely did not like it that only Hindi was considered. I'll give you an example. On the eve of 26 January 1965, students in Madras picketed with cries of Hindi imperialism and Hindi never, English ever. It was a 2 month long period of agitation and repression. The anti-Hindi agitation stopped only after Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's assurance that the use of English as an alternative language would be allowed to continue as long as non-Hindi speaking people wanted it. English was considered as official business language. It is always referred to as global business language. Now, what did we understand from the small extract from the pages of history about our language policy? That it was a second test for Indian Federation for the language policy. Our constitution did not give the status of national language to any one language. Hindi was identified as an official language. As Hindi is the mother tongue of only about 40% of Indians, therefore, there were many safeguards to protect other languages. Besides Hindi, there are 21 other languages recognized as scheduled languages by the Constitution. A candidate in examination conducted for the central governmental positions may opt to take the examination in any of these languages. States too have their own official languages. Much of the government work takes place in the official language of the concerned state. Right? So, what are the points that I have to remember? That there are 21 languages recognized as scheduled languages by the Constitution, and a candidate who is giving a central government position exam can opt to take the exam in any of these languages, and most of the work that takes place in a state government is with the help of the language which is preferred by the state government. So they can have their day-to-day affairs in their official language. So much of the government works takes place in the official language of the concerned state. So if it is in Maharashtra, then most of the official work will be carried out in Marathi. Alright, now let us continue with our points. Next point is, unlike Sri Lanka, leaders of our country adopted a very cautious attitude in spreading the use of Hindi. As we wanted to give all the states their rights, their freedom, we never wanted to impose anything on our states, as we had divided our states on the linguistic basis. We never wanted anyone to feel alienated, and that's the right, and that's the reason that our leaders adopted a very cautious attitude in spreading Hindi. According to the constitution, use of English for official purpose was to be stopped in 1965. But however, many of the non-Hindi speaking states demanded that the use of English be continued. Alright, so most of the southern Indian states, even today, during the parliament session, they speak in English as they're comfortable in that language. In Tamil Nadu, this movement took a violent form. The central government responded by agreeing to continue use of English along with Hindi for official purpose. So initially, when it was decided in 1965 that the English language should be stopped, however, most of the non-Hindi speaking states demanded that the English should be continued, and there were riots, there were violent forms in Tamil Nadu, people were agitating, and so then central government immediately decided that they will keep English as an official language too. It will be used for office purpose. Even today it is a global language, it's a business language. Many critics think that this solution favored the English speaking elite. Promotion of Hindi continues to be the official policy of the government of India. But promotion does not mean that the central government can impose Hindi on states where people speak a different language. Over here in Maharashtra, Hindi cannot be imposed. There is a rule that the nameplate of all the shops or the hotels, okay, or any business establishment has to be written in English as well as in Marathi, because it's a state rule. Okay, Hindi cannot be imposed in any of the state. Flexibility shown by the Indian political leaders helped our country avoid the kind of situation that Sri Lanka finds itself in. So, flexibility shown by the Indian political leaders, appropriate use of the federal structure, because we follow federalism, and under federalism, states also have an equivalent power as the center. Center will not impose its power on the state government. So, flexibility was shown by the Indian political leaders, and because of which situation which Sri Lanka faces, we did not face it. We were able to handle the situation very well, and we were able to give our rights. We were able to give rights to the states, the appropriate rights to the states, that they can take the decision in their state as per the requirement of the citizens of those states, of the people of those states. So, here we come to the end of this part. I hope you have understood the language policy. That what are the points that we have to remember for the language policy? That our constitution did not give the status of national language to any of the language. Hindi is identified as an official language. Besides Hindi, there are 21 other languages which are recognized as scheduled languages, and a candidate can give central government position exam in any of these scheduled languages. Alright, then next points were that unlike Sri Lanka, leaders of our country adopted a very cautious approach and in spreading Hindi, and according to the constitution, use of English for official purpose had to be stopped. But for the for non-Hindi speaking states, that is for most of the southern Indian states, English still continues to be one of the official business language. And what are the last points that we have to remember? That promotion of Hindi continues to be the official policy, but that does not mean that the central government will impose its will and wish upon the state government. So, here the flexibility shown by the Indian political leaders have helped our country to grow politically and economically.